Prime Minister Romano Prodi has officially handed over control of Italy's government to Silvio Berlusconi. In the traditional ceremony at the Prime Ministerial office, Prodi handed over a bell to the newly sworn-in leader. Back in 2006, it was Berlusconi who handed over the bell to Prodi when he first took power. After the ceremony on Thursday, Berlusconi met his new cabinet for the first time since taking power. Next week, Italy's upper and lower houses of parliament will hold a vote of confidence to approve the new government in Rome. Israel has celebrated the 60th anniversary of its Independence Day. An array of events was held in the Jewish state on Thursday. Meanwhile, Palestinians are commemorating the anniversary of what they call Al-Nakba, or the catastrophe. Zheng Siwei has details.
Israeli President Shimon Peres held a reception at his residence in Jerusalem to mark the anniversary. Prime Minister Ehud Olmert and Defense Minister Ehud Barak were also on hand. Peres says Israel's outstanding military build-up has guaranteed fast growth in the country's economy, technology and arts. He says Israel will continue seeking peace and that Israel will maintain dialogue with Palestinians and will try to restart negotiations with Syria. In Tel Aviv, Israel Army held a display of aerial and naval forces. Israel declared the establishment of a statehood on May 14, 1948. And it traditionally celebrates Independence Day according to the Hebrew lunar calendar, which this year falls on Thursday. But Palestinians mark the day with a completely different point of view. In Ramallah, Palestinian Prime Minister Salam Fayyad toured a tent camp set up to mark what Palestinians call Al-Nakba, or the catastrophe.
This camp is about, with all that it contains and symbolizes, is a very important step toward preserving the collective, national memory of the Palestinian people, wherever they may be, here in West Bank, Gaza, and diaspora. And this is what this is about.
About 700,000 people, half the Arab population of Palestinian territory, fled or driven from their homes with the creation of the State of Israel. Zheng Siwei, CCTV.
Well, let's stay nearby. Gunfire clashes have continued between Shiite supporters of Hezbollah and Sunnis who back Lebanon's government. At least 3 people were killed in Beirut and dozens wounded in fighting on Thursday. The latest violence followed a defiant speech by Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. Li Xiang takes a closer look.
It was the second day of clashes, turning some Beirut neighborhoods into virtual battlefronts. Thursday's violence took place on a major thoroughfare, the Corniche Mazra, that has become a demarcation line between Hezbollah and the government, and also in the nearby Ras El Nabi area. The violence later spread to Kandak El Gamik, which is adjacent to the downtown area. Hezbollah gunmen overran at least 3 offices of the pro-government Future group in the fighting. Supporters of Hezbollah and its allies have blocked the roads leading to the airport and other main streets, paralyzing much of the capital. The fighting in Beirut erupted minutes after Hezbollah chief Said Hassan Nasrallah's speech on Thursday. He said the government had declared war by deeming Hezbollah's private telecommunications network illegal and a threat to state security. Nasrallah also rejected the government's decision to replace the Beirut airport chief for alleged ties to the Shiite militants. Lebanese governing coalition leader Saad al-Hariri responded by proposing a deal. The potential resolution would consider the 2 government demands a misunderstanding and refer them to the Lebanese army, which has been neutral in the confrontations.
We will put the 2 demands that were misunderstood in the hands of the Lebanese army, and do this with respect to the duties of the Lebanese army to protect the civil obedience, secure the state's authority over its territories, and protect Lebanon from all risks. Secondly, we would withdraw all armed appearances and then reopen the roads and reopen Rafiq Hariri Airport in order to avoid strife.
Political sources say it is not clear whether Hezbollah will accept the compromise offer, especially on the army's handling of the telecommunication issue. This even though the militant group has good relations with the army commander. Li Xiang, CCTV.
Well, let's stay with that story. The UN Security Council is urging Lebanese parties to exercise calm and restraint following the latest wave of violence. In a statement read out in New York by Britain's UN ambassador, Council members expressed deep concern over the current clashes. They also called for the immediate reopening of all roads in the Lebanese capital of Beirut. Council members stressed the need to uphold the security and sovereignty of Lebanon. They also expressed their support for the constitutional institutions in that country. The UN Security Council called on all sides to work together to elect a new president through peaceful dialogue. A member of Colombia's Congress suffered a fatal heart attack while debating a transport bill on Wednesday. He died in hospital after spending hours waiting for an ambulance. 60-year-old José Fernando Castro was a member of the conservative President Álvaro Uribe's majority coalition. He collapsed mid-debate in a committee room. Castro spent 20 minutes on the floor waiting for an ambulance that never arrived. Fellow lawmakers eventually carried him to a car, but Colombia's health secretary says it appears Castro suffered 2 heart attacks on his way to hospital. Other lawmakers have criticized the lack of first aid facilities inside Congress and the poor response of the country's emergency services. Chile has ordered holdout residents to flee from the erupting volcano in the remote region of Patagonia. The government says it will force remaining locals out if they refuse to leave. Yesterday, the military evacuated a small contingent of troops and journalists in the village of Chatan, just 10 kilometers from the volcano. A court has ordered the complete evacuation of a 50-kilometer radius. The order gives police permission to use force. The long dormant 1,000-meter-high volcano lies more than 1,200 kilometers south of the capital, Santiago. It began erupting last week for the first time in thousands of years, sending a plume of ash some 12 kilometers into the air. Experts say it could continue belching out ash for months and rumble on for years. This is News Hour. The lunchtime news from Beijing continues after this break. Stay with us here. When we come back, the World Bank urges the US to consider the impact of using corn for biofuel as global food prices skyrocket. Thanks for staying with us, and if you're just joining our program, you're watching the live news from Beijing. Here's a reminder of our main stories so far. Chinese leader Hu Jintao stresses the importance of warm ties with Japan in a speech in Tokyo to Waseda University. Meanwhile, the Olympic torch relay continues its tour in China with a stop-off in Huizhou in southern Guangdong province. In Myanmar, tens of thousands of people left homeless by Cyclone Nargis struggle to cope with food shortages and poor sanitation. And this story also from President to Prime Minister Vladimir Putin takes on a new role in Russian politics. From politics to business, here's Jia Tanrong with all the latest numbers and figures. Jia, we're back to a regular working week here in Beijing.
Yes, but it's Friday, so it's about to become a weekend.
Yeah, I feel it's the beginning of the week.
Where have you been?
I don't know. I think because I just had 2 days off or something.
I'm not going to ask anymore because we are live and who knows what you've been doing.
What will it say? Absolutely. But as usual, we are going to kick off with the markets.
Yes, today we are going to kick off the markets, and I have a couple of stories to you. You know, I mean, I don't know how much you've been following business news, but obviously the problems with grain has also been a big problem. So let's start with the markets first. And Japan's Nikkei average fell this morning, dragged down by Toyota Motor after the world's biggest automaker forecasts its first annual profit decline in 7 years. And a stronger yen is also weighing on other exporters. The benchmark Nikkei average has gained nearly 20% from a year low hit on March the 17th on receding pessimism about the global credit crisis. Now, Toyota dropped 3.7% this Friday. The world's biggest automaker posted a bigger than expected 28% drop in quarterly net profit due to a stronger yen and sliding U.S. sales. And it forecasts its first annual profit decline in 7 years. Now, analysts are saying that Toyota's outlook is negative news for the overall auto industry, and investors have become wary of earnings by other automakers. Well, meanwhile, exporters generally came under pressure. Investors were fretting over a stronger yen as it eats into the value of exporters' overseas sales when translated back into the Japanese currency.